Welcome to the Voice of Retail. I'm your host, Michael LeBlanc. This podcast is brought to you in conjunction with Retail Council of Canada. Welcome to a special NRF Big Show 2022 bonus episode of the podcast, one of a series of exclusive interviews produced to support the show, the vendors, and the industry thought leaders heading into the new year. These bonus episodes all follow a similar format. First, we learn about my guest and the company they work for and what they're talking about to retailers at the big show this year. Second, based on their experience, knowledge, and conversations with retail clients, 2 starts and 1-stop advice for retailers listening. And last but not least, where you can go to learn more. All right, let's jump right in. Steve, welcome to the Voice of Retail podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Michael. Nice to be speaking with you today.
Well, it's great to hear your voice. You and I met several years ago, actually, through Retail Council of Canada. I held or sponsored kind of a contest about great startups, and you entered, and you were the winner, and that's how you and I first got to know each other. That was a couple of years ago. How are you, and how have you been since then?
I've been doing great. The company's been growing very nicely, so it's unbelievable that was 6 years ago.
Wow!
We were at the RCC event, and a lot has changed for sure in the world over the last 6 years.
Yeah, right on. Now, you operate, I think we'll get into this, but you operate North American at least. Where am I reaching you today, though? Where am I finding you, and where are you based?
So I am in Montreal today. Our head office is in Montreal. Mm-hmm. We have offices in the U.S. We also have an office in Melbourne, Australia, as well as in London, England. And so we have grown to be a global organization over the last 6 years, and also have customers that are running our platform in over 45 countries right now.
Wow! Congratulations. How do you find operating in Montreal? It's such a great pool of talent. Montreal's it's a great place, great pool of talent. Are you able to access that talent? And are you finding people from around the world, or are you finding them right next door?
Yeah, so Montreal's a phenomenal place to be running a technology company for a couple different reasons. First off, there is a great talent pool here because of language. I would say that individuals are a little bit less mobile in Quebec than perhaps in other provinces or other states in the U.S. People, as a result of the culture, they stay here. Right. The education system has been great in really building just a diversified talent pool of technologists. And certainly, like everywhere else in the world, technology is top of mind and growing significantly. So it is a tight labor market, and as a result, although the majority of our development group R&D organization is in Montreal, we now have branch offices in both Australia as well as in Europe.
Oh, that's, I'm kind of curious. Were you always the sort that would have virtual people working for you, whether it was in the office locally or internationally? And did COVID transform that for you, or were you already down that path? How did you run your business? We
always had our multiple offices, but we were always an organization that liked people in the office working as a team. And, certainly things have changed, obviously, as a result of COVID. We've learned a lot about how a hybrid model can be, really successful for us as well. So we have moved to a completely hybrid model. And I think our team members are thrilled about it. And to be honest, I was never a believer in that in the past. I have converted. I am a believer in it. I can see the productivity gains as well that we get from it.
It's interesting, right? Because it's a bit off topic for our discussion, but it's also on topic for our discussion because it's about people. And it's just this trade-off, if there's a trade-off to be made between productivity and culture. And I guess that's the secret sauce, is keeping them, productivity seems to come well with the hybrid model, but, adhesion to the brand and culture and innovation, those things seem a little harder to come by.
For sure. And I think the key to it is just really great communication. And we really upskilled our team members to operate virtually in a more productive way. How do you conduct meetings? And, you got to have fun as well, right? Sometimes you get on a Zoom, you go straight into business. You also have to have fun, which is a big part of our culture. And I think one of the biggest lessons for me as I've been down this kind of hybrid learning process is that people still really respect the in-person experience and time together. So although we are hybrid, and Quebec right now, the office is closed. When it was open, there was really a desire for people to come back to the office, and so the hybrid model kind of came naturally to our team. I mean, we have a very family-oriented culture as well with the new organization. And so we kind of got this natural progression of people wanting to be in person, but then, perhaps Mondays and Fridays working from home to save time on commute and so forth.
Right. Well, listen, we've jumped right in. We've gotten ahead of ourselves, but this is all great. Let's take a step back.
Yes.
And let's tell the listeners about yourself, who you are. You are not new to technology with this startup. And tell me all about your company.
Perfect. Great. Well, this is my second startup, second technology company. My roots, I guess, started in e-commerce. I started an e-commerce platform company in 1999 called iCongo. And
99, you're an OG, man.
Yeah,
99.
exactly.
There's not many of us, eh?
I can't believe it. And through iCongo, our clients were some of the larger retailers in North America that used our software to run their e-commerce properties. And in 2011, we landed up merging with one of our European competitors, a company called Hybris. So Hybris and iCongo merged. We became Hybris, which was really the largest independent back office agnostic e-commerce platform in the world. We had explosive growth and landed up selling to SAP in 2013. So that was an amazing ride. Obviously, I spent 15 years evangelizing a single customer experience and omni-channel commerce and so forth. And when I landed up in SAP, which is a company that I absolutely loved being part of, I started getting really enamored around other challenges that organizations were starting to think about and to face in their operations. So in speaking to a lot of executives, the topic of people started to become really top of mind for organizations. And I think there were a couple different factors. This was like 2014, Michael. There were a couple different factors, if you think back to that time, that were impacting the way organizations were thinking about their future. First one is that millennials were starting to enter into the workforce. And there was this big concern in 2014, how are we going to manage millennials? And their expectations are different. And it turned out not to be as hard as people thought, but for sure the expectations are different in the younger generations and even in older generations that have been more accustomed to technology. Everything in our lives, as an example, we have digital relationships with people around us, our doctors, our restaurants, I just brought my car into the garage today. I have everything that I'm doing with them today is through texting and their systems. So the expectations of employees started to change in 2014. And then you also had President Obama, who started to put more emphasis on protecting the rights of hourly workers in the U.S. and also with Amazon, which was really starting to put a lot of pressure on retail organizations back then. There was this realization that the store of the future is important, but also upping the game on in-person experiences, which obviously people are a big part of that. So I got enamored by all these different, social, economic, and cultural aspects of business that were challenging organizations. And when we looked at it, we landed up noticing that there had been a lot of innovation on the HR and workforce management front, but nothing that really touched people in the frontline operations. There were back office systems that did better forecasting and optimization, but no real operational tools that were able to scale at mass, be compliant, and drive what we thought was just an amazing concept of dollars and hearts, a system that can pull costs out of a business while also winning the hearts of employees. And if you think about it in technology, particularly retail technology, like there's not a lot of technologies that can say that they win dollars and hearts, right? It's not like you put a new POS machine into a store and it may save you money, but it's not necessarily winning the hearts of your team members. So we came up with this concept of building a digital workplace platform and taking the concepts of omni-channel commerce and applying it to the HR industry and workforce management and operations. And that was really the beginning of Workjam. So we started Workjam 7 years ago. And essentially the concept around Workjam is to have an operational suite that allows everything from employee self-service, operational execution, such as task management, employee learning through a variety of different learning tools, as well as communication, and put those together under one single platform that is both compliant, but also drives dollars and hearts in organizations.
Now, off the top, you mentioned you had a great presence North America and around the world. Give me an idea of what kind of clients are using your product in the retail space. Of course, my listeners are in retail. And do you focus beyond retail, or is you really just focusing on expertise?
Yeah, great question. So we have phenomenal customers around the world, and retail is one of the segments that we cater to. We also cater to other segments that have frontline workers, such as hospitality, manufacturing, distribution, logistics, as well as healthcare. Those are and retail. Those make up the four segments that we cater to right now. As far as the customers, we have great customers around the world. Organizations such as Shell Oil, Couche-Tard, organizations such as Ulta Beauty, Woolworths, for example, in grocery in Australia. So
Ulta, I just interviewed the CEO of Ulta for my Remarkable Retail podcast. Very impressive.
Very impressive. And a remarkable company. Really, just a tremendous organization. So our customers are made up of both large enterprise as well as small, medium-sized enterprise.
Tell me a little bit about that. So your typical, not all platforms are designed for all size retailers. So right. When you think about, or when my listeners are thinking about, hey, that could be a solution for me, they should have how many employees or be of a certain size? Give me a sense of where that works best for you and your customers.
Yeah, so typically our system works, and by the way, it's a very good point, which is in this type of technology, you can't have a technology that fits every size organization. And for us, we typically cater to organizations that have, over 1,000 to 2,000 frontline workers. Right. And it's not like a set rule. It's also based on the number of locations that they have and some of the challenges that they're trying to overcome. For example, if there's a lot of locations, but maybe they only have, 1,500 frontline workers and they want to get into labor sharing between locations, that's a perfect type of customer for us. So it's a mix of both number of employees as well as number of locations that, that qualify, a great fit for Workjam for that type of organization.
And up, right? Because Ulta's got 30,000 people. So it that's a tremendous kind of breadth. You've named some big companies, Shell, Couche-Tard. Lots of people. All right. Yeah. So that's a great introduction to Workjam. And let's talk now. You're at this pivot point. You're at the intersection point of a whole bunch of trends yet again. 7 years later, we've got what do they call it? The Great Resignation or the Great Moderation, and staffing's an issue right now. It's a particular issue. We're speaking here in January. Omicron is taking a lot of people out of the workforce. So, advice. You talk to decision makers, retail decision makers, and beyond. 2 starts, 1 stop as they think about now and 2022.
Yeah, great question. So you're right. There's a lot going on in our space right now, and I think one of the interesting aspects is that COVID has really accelerated the need around digital transformation of frontline operations. It opened the eyes to what is possible and where some of the pain points, that need to be resolved very quickly are. So it's really uncovered a lot and educated a lot of organizations. I would say that when we're speaking to prospects and our customers, the two things that are really top of mind right now is certainly the labor crisis and also productivity of the frontline. So on the labor crisis, you're 100% right. It's not only Omicron that's taken people out of the workforce. There's obviously a lot of other factors that are playing into that as well. In my opinion, the shift in the labor actually started before COVID. I think COVID has accelerated it, and it certainly is one of the biggest challenges for organizations right now. So where a lot of our customers and prospects are spending time on right now, which I think is really critical, is around how do you optimize your workforce to be able to get the right coverage in your stores. And traditionally, as you know, most retailers are staffing one location at a time. And with Workjam, what we're able to do is allow organizations to share labor across locations. So, for example, you can take a district and you can actually share trained labor across multiple locations. So you may have an individual that is trained as a cashier in one location, and now you're able to offer shifts for that individual at another location where there might be, some scheduling shortages. And that has proven to be really strategic and helpful for organizations, particularly in this environment. You look at organizations like American Eagle, some of the other customers that I mentioned before, shifting from a location-based staffing model to a regional or a district-based staffing model is a absolute start, in my opinion, for organizations to be looking at in 2022.
Right on.
The other aspect is productivity. So if you're having issues hiring enough staff for your locations, and then you're also dealing with, a lot of new types of processes that are being introduced to your business, either from e-commerce or health and safety and so forth, you need to focus on productivity. How do you allow your staff to be more productive and save time so that you can get more out of your team members? And that's where task management is also top of mind for many organizations right now. And it's either replacing, legacy applications with more modern applications like Workjam, or as you can imagine, there's still a lot of organizations that are running in a very manual process with pen and paper. So just beginning the digital automation, journey is important right now. And so that those particular ones are very, very important starts. And I would say that if I'm going to add a third, is communication, being able to have a compliant communication tool for the field that's both bidirectional, so head office to the frontline workers, and be able to collect feedback as well and bring it back to head office is super important. And
what should they stop doing based on your experience? What should they say? You know what? It used to work.
Yeah,
but it's probably not going to work anymore.
Well, this is a really interesting one because there's a lot of retailers are really smart and they understand their challenges and as a result, over the last couple of years, they've started to put more technology into their stores, and particularly, trying to solve some of these workforce challenges. I think one thing that we see over and over in our implementations, and as well as in speaking with prospects, is there's only so many systems that you can put into the field. Being a frontline worker is really difficult as it is, let alone getting trained on 6 or 7 applications. And that's where consolidating all these different systems into one, single view or one app for the frontline is really critical to get the value out of your investments, but also to drive the right productivity in the field. And, not to promote Workjam too much, but that's really one of our big advantages of having this one platform that covers all these different disciplines and provides an employee a single pane of glass into their organization.
So less is more. If I turn the other, stop relying on trying to tie systems together and try to find a singular system to make it easier for your employees.
Absolutely. And it's one of the challenges of SaaS, which is, a lot of these applications are easy to stand up and they serve a purpose, but particularly with the frontline, there's only so much that you can put in the field.
All right. Well, that's a great message. Great overview of Workjam. Where can people go to connect with you or learn more about Workjam if they want to delve in?
Yeah, great. Well, certainly, our website has a wealth of information at workjam.com. And I'm happy to provide my email address if anybody wanted to reach out to me. And it's Steven, Steven, .Kramer, Kramer, at workjam.com. And I'm happy to continue the discussion with anybody that would like to reach out.
All right, fantastic. Well, I'll put that in the show notes. And listen, it was great catching up. Long overdue.
Absolutely.
We're in the same country, but I miss not being in Montreal. I miss being in Montreal. Probably the longest time in my life I haven't been in Montreal, so I'm going to rectify that as soon as possible. But listen, I wish you continued success. You've been on a great run, and it sounds like you're solving a lot of problems, some gnarly problems. So congratulations, and again, thank you for being on the Voice of Retail podcast.
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks for tuning into this special episode of The Voice of Retail. If you haven't already, be sure and click and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so new episodes will land automatically twice a week. And check out my other retail industry media properties, the Remarkable Retail Podcast, Conversations with Commerce Next Podcast, and the Food Professor Podcast with Dr. Sylvain Charlebois. Last but not least, if you're into barbecue, check out my all-new YouTube barbecue show, Last Request Barbecue, with new episodes each and every week. I'm your host, Michael LeBlanc, president of M.E. LeBlanc Company and Maven Media. And if you're looking for more content or want to chat, follow me on LinkedIn or visit my website at meleblanc.co. Have a safe week, everyone.